Hi, my name is Jim DeRentis, and I'm the Providence real estate guy. Today, what we thought we would bring to you some of our partners that we use to help us in the real estate transaction. And once you've gotten through the purchase of or negotiating the purchase price of a home, typically then we go into the contract phase. And during the contract phase, we generally have an attorney assist both buyers and sellers as they are finalizing the formal contract. Then we go to the closing table. Well, that closing table looks very different today. And here with us this afternoon is Jeff StSauveur. Jeff is a principal at Pilgrim Title, and Pilgrim is one of the largest title companies in the state. And he's going to tell us today a little bit about the things his company has done to help their clients with the closing process and what he sees as the future for the closing and deed recording, which is the finalization of the purchase of the transaction. So without further ado, hi Jeff.
Hi Jim.
How are you?
Good. How are you today?
Pretty well, thank you.
Good.
So, we're here today to talk a little bit about how we in the real estate business are sort of reacting to the coronavirus and, what that means for our industry and, how we better serve our clients. And, I've had the pleasure of working with you for past decade in this business, and I know how innovative Pilgrim Title always has been. So why don't we talk a little bit about some of the steps that Pilgrim Title has taken, to adjust to this new environment, and how are you serving your clients and our buyer and seller clients?
In terms of helping borrowers feel comfortable about signing documents. Basically what they can do is if someone has to come to the office, they come right in the door and they go right into a sanitized conference room. Mm-hmm. They sign documents alone, and then the documents are reviewed by the attorney or paralegal, and then the acknowledgement, the notary is taken, and they're on their way. So for those who feel comfortable about doing that, that's been great. We've had other situations where documents are just simply emailed, and folks make their own arrangements with a notary, and they meet up with somebody close by their house and somebody they trust, and they send the documents back. We've had very few closings during the Corona time here that involve a sit down with multiple parties.
Sure.
Realtors, as you know, are not coming. And sellers, typically they'll have their own attorney and meet with that attorney and send us documents by FedEx a couple days before. And we hold them, and then when the loan docs, the closing comes along, again, we have those systems set up. So it's a very low touch situation. And again, as you know, there's the remote online notary.
Yeah, so tell us, we hear a lot about that, and we knew that when this virus first erupted and the shelter in place requirements came up, and everybody was trying to figure out what did that mean. And then I know you and your firm were instrumental in the remote notarization process here in Rhode Island. So tell us a little bit about what that is and what does that mean?
We have right now in place a remote online notarization order, which is only good through the emergency order. So it will go away.
I see.
There's other activity by the General Assembly, which I think we will. I think that's going to be a big change. I think coming out of this, one of the positive things is that there are going to be some really positive, changes that have happened during Corona that are going to sustain itself for the future. And I think remote online notary will continue even after this passes. But the process is such that every notary has to sign up with the Secretary of State. They have to sign up with one of the preferred vendors of the Secretary of State. And basically, not to bore you, but the notary has to go through a bunch of steps to sign up, and then keep a 10-year log of all the, it has to be a digital log of all the certifications, all the notaries. But what we can do is it's a audio-visual notary service, right? So we can now, if there's a borrower who happens to be quarantined in Florida, is trying to refinance their house in Rhode Island, or they're selling their house in Rhode Island, we can set up an appointment. We can go online just like we are now, the two of us, with video cam. And really all you need is video cam, which most laptops have, and the internet access.
Okay.
So you talk face to face, you go through the documents, they're signed in front of the notary visually, and and then the acknowledgement is processed on the notary side, and a certificate is produced by this preferred vendor, this certified vendor of the Secretary of State, and we keep the certificate, and the certificate gets attached to the instrument. So we just started 3 days ago on this. I just did a remote online notary service for for a lender just before we got on, and it was it's working out well. It takes a little time, a little extra time, maybe 10 minutes more added to the closing process, just because the steps that you have to go through to identify. There's a question, a list of questions to identify the borrower, their identity, and how you know them.
Sure.
Forms of identification and things of that nature. But all the documents can be signed, sent to the borrower by email. They can print them out. They sign in front of the online notary visually on the camera, and then they FedEx them back to us. So we do need the original documents back to us. The process takes a little longer online. However, the person doesn't have to travel. They don't have to leave their home. Yeah. As long as they have a computer and they can receive an email, print out documents, and send them back to us. So,
Now, you mentioned the lenders. What about the lending community itself? Are all lenders accepting the remote notarization?
Okay. Yeah, they're okay. So, the lenders will, of course, still want the original promissory note, right? But that's not notarized. So it's just the mortgage, a couple of other affidavits. Every lender so far is on board because it's legal to do. It's in Rhode Island. So, and Rhode Island's got one of the better statutes. In Massachusetts right now, they don't have the remote online notary. They're proposing one, but you have to be a mass notary taking an acknowledgement of a signer in Mass. So it's much more restrictive.
More restrictive, yes. Yeah, sure.
So that's been a real positive outcome, I think.
Good. Yeah. Well, if there are any silver linings in this thing, to see technology used to facilitate and smooth out this process, that'll be a nice benefit for all of us. Yeah. You mentioned this was done by executive order, and then there was a panel of the General Assembly convened to ratify it during the crisis. What about, here in Rhode Island, we have 39 cities and towns. How are you seeing the various communities facilitating the tail end of the closing process, which is the deed recordation?
Right. It has been it's been a journey for sure. Every single day we have a designated paralegal who calls the town, every day, and finds out what's going on, right? So for instance, 2 weeks ago, we were told that the city of Providence was closed. It was shut out. We couldn't do any title search there. We couldn't even record. So we'd have to record, and by dropping it off in a box outside city, in the hallway outside land evidence. Yeah. It would take about a week for it to actually appear online as recorded. Now, what happened immediately was that the title companies began insuring the gap.
Okay.
Which is critical, because otherwise every closing would have been held in escrow for 4, 5, 6 days while the towns were closed, couldn't record. So what we do is, as soon as we close at, say, at the table, we We send the document out for recording. And once that's done, we disperse funds. So everything's closed. For instance, Jamestown, you can knock on the back door, they'll come out, they'll take the document, they'll record, you stand outside, they'll come out, hand you the document back. You got to make an appointment. So every town is different. Now, the city of Providence just implemented online or e-filing for recordation. So we can sit at our computer and we can now e-file. So it's great. And there have been 3 or 4 other towns that just came online for e-filing. But the towns have been okay. There's just every town's a little different. So some are by appointment, some you can e-file, some you can send just mail in. But the important thing is that we are ensuring the gap between the closing date and the time of actual recording. So,
well, I know many states around the country, people have been able to do e-filing and even search titles online for many years.
Right.
Do you think that one of the silver linings, perhaps, that Rhode Island will start to move toward a system where all the communities, you'll be able to do a title search online and then do the electronic filing and recording the deed?
Right. So with the city of Providence, for instance, you can search the title from 2004 forward.
Okay.
They haven't digitalized their land evidence records prior to 04.
Okay.
I think they're going to. There's talk that it's got to happen. They realize it has to happen. In terms of the e-filing, that's a huge step. We do a lot of work in Massachusetts, and we e-file every closing. So
sure.
As long as we have the original doc in hand, funds are in, we record, and it takes no time at all. It sits in a queue maybe for an hour, just like if you were standing in line at the Registry of Deeds. And the e-file system in Massachusetts has been tremendous, a real game changer for the industry, just to get things done quickly, get funds dispersed immediately, as opposed to having to travel up to Salem to Essex County. We're out west in Berkshire County.
Sure.
The only way to do it was to have someone out there. So, but now, it's instant. And the fact that Providence has adopted it, I think it's going to really help. It'll really help the industry.
Well, it's nice to hear that business is still moving along, and that we have been able to come up with some workarounds so that we can accommodate our clients. And I continue to look forward to working with you. And it's nice to see you, albeit remotely.
I know.
Thank you very much for taking the time today and telling us a little bit about the closing process.
Pleasure, Jim.
Well, there you have it. Jeff StSauveur, thank you very much. We appreciate your time this afternoon and for enlightening us on the closing process and things like remote notarization and e-filing of deeds and the ability to be able to electronically search titles in the various cities and towns in Rhode Island. All of these things, we believe, will be a net positive from the results of this coronavirus. Again, my name is Jim DeRentis. I'm the Providence Real Estate Guy, and thank you very much for joining me this afternoon.